What's up everybody, Corey James here, and for today's topic I wanted to focus on a very mysterious ancient symbol to try to understand what it could possibly represent. Now, this symbol that many have dubbed the handbag is largely dismissed as nothing more than, well, a handbag by mainstream archaeology, yet it is a symbol we can see depicted among numerous ancient civilizations from nearly every continent, spanning hundreds, even thousands of years apart. Why? What is the true meaning behind this symbol, and what is it meant to represent? Was it a form of ancient technology? Why is this mysterious object depicted only in the hands of the ancient gods? And does the one commonality each of these ancient depictions share hold the answer?
Well, the sight of Göbekli Tepe really did send shockwaves through the whole world of early prehistory, because we'd never before known or imagined even that simple hunter-gatherers could produce such spectacular monumental structures.
Located in Sanliurfa, Turkey, Göbekli Tepe, human civilization's new #1 temple complex, predating Stonehenge by 6,000 years and fundamentally altering everything we thought we knew about our ancient past, as it was seemingly constructed out of nowhere during a time archaeologists call the pre-pottery age, when hunter-gatherers roamed the earth. Now, there are numerous mysteries and theories we could get into regarding this 12,000-year-old ancient complex that, by the way, just a simple series of stone circles encasing dozens of limestone monoliths and T-shaped pillars, some of which reach heights as high as 20 feet with stones that weigh upwards of 20 tons, some of which were intricately carved with incredible detail. No tools or signs of any human habitation have ever been found, and only about 20% of the total site has been uncovered to this day, because whoever built this massive ancient complex intentionally buried it under 100 feet of sand and rubble. But what I want to focus on is the first location we see our mysterious ancient handbag depicted in a very unique way, seemingly different from the rest. No god or person seems to be holding the object. Rather, it hangs above a very intriguing depiction of what seems to be a bird, standing with its wings spread and holding or levitating a sphere above one of those wings. Now, we could jump to numerous theories and speculate as to the possible message these ancient builders are conveying, but to do so logically requires the exploration of other ancient sites where this mysterious symbol seems to make an appearance. And coincidentally enough, there happens to be such a location only 460 miles away in a place we call the Cradle of Civilization.
Sumerian tablets are probably one of the oldest form of written record that we have. They've been translated, and they tell exciting stories about how gods intermingled with human beings and actually had a hand in the creation of human beings. Whether or not it's just mythology or if it's fact, no one really knows.
Ancient Mesopotamia, the Sumerians, and their gods the Anunnaki, a race of giant, highly advanced beings who came from the stars to impart knowledge and technology among the humans, who in some ancient scripts claim were created by the Anunnaki, live among them as their kings, deciding their fate over thousands of years. And seen within the hands of these ancient Anunnaki is this mysterious object, which some scholars claim to be nothing but a literal bag for carrying these pine cones in which these gods pollinate the tree of life, also called the tree of knowledge. Now, here's the problem with that. No, it isn't. Because first off, this is not a literal tree. The ancient Sumerians knew what a tree looked like. Second, you don't pollinate a tree, you water it. Or really, you just plant it and let it grow. That being said, I can see the link between Tree of Knowledge and the pine cone, which is also known as the pineal gland or the third eye in ancient cultures such as the Sumerians, representing wisdom or a higher knowledge. But that still does not explain what this so-called ancient handbag is meant to represent. But it does take us another step closer to finding that answer, because this so-called Tree of Life has an uncanny similarity to another ancient symbol that resides less than 900 miles away in ancient Egypt, which is also the next ancient civilization that seems to have this same mysterious symbol depicted in the same way as the Anunnaki. Now, many people are familiar with the ancient Egyptians and their gods. And many people are aware of the Ankh, the symbol for knowledge, life, and fertility among the ancient Egyptians. But not so many people are familiar with this ancient symbol we see depicted within the art and hieroglyphs of the Egyptians, the Djed, a symbol of stability, order, and structure, often associated with the god Osiris as it is represented as his spine or backbone. It is also associated with craftsmen and architects, more specifically the people who construct things. And what do we use to construct things? Technology. And this symbol, known as the Djed, looks eerily similar to a modern day technology that we use and depend on today. What if the Djed is an ancient technology, more specifically a power source? Which I know sounds fantastical, but is it really? Because, let's be honest here, the explanations and theories we are given for the construction of the oldest and last remaining of the original 7 wonders of the world is pretty damn ridiculous. Simply because red granite, the stone used for the interior of the Great Pyramid, ranks a 7 on the Mohs hardness scale. Found within red granite is quartz crystal, one of the hardest substances we know, ranking between a 7.5 and an 8 on the Mohs hardness scale. The greatest technology, we are told by scholars, that the Egyptians possessed at the time of the building of the Great Pyramid was copper, one of the weakest substances we know of, ranking a 3 on the Mohs hardness scale. Now, I don't care how much sand, water, and time you use in combination with copper, it is literally, not figuratively, literally impossible for copper to cut these red granite stones. Not to mention the quartz crystal inside with such precision and accuracy that to recreate the work today would require the only thing we know capable of cutting red granite, a diamond-tipped buzzsaw, not copper chisels. Not to mention the fact that at the time the pyramids were built, according to the academics, the ancient Egyptians did not possess the wheel or the pulley system. And why do I bring this up? Well, it is to illustrate the fact that the ancient Egyptians had something else, some other form of technology that enabled them to construct such amazing wonders that today we cannot recreate nor definitively explain how the Egyptians were able to do it. And one of the more popular theories is that the ancient Egyptians had power. Now, the Djed is closely associated with the Ankh, which is associated with the goddess Isis, the wife and sister of Osiris, which is possibly why we see the Ankh depicted as the handbag. But, of course, that is purely speculation. But then again, everything I say is speculation, and screw it, sounds like a valid theory to me, so let's move on. Could this ancient symbol be a literal representation of a technology? And like all technology, it requires a power source or a battery to operate. The Tree of Life is a symbol shared by almost every ancient culture that has ever existed, and in many cases this Tree of Life doesn't really look like a tree. Why? It's not like these ancient people didn't know what a tree was or how to illustrate one. What if, and here's a really crazy thought, what if our ancient ancestors were being literal in what they were recording and depicting within their sacred walls of their sacred temples? Because you have to stop and really ask yourself, why would these incredible civilizations who were so advanced and knowledgeable to a degree that we cannot reproduce what they constructed or to this day accurately describe or really even come close to explaining how they were able to construct it in the first place, yet everything they wrote down, all of the art they created was a myth? Also, why would we assume that our ancient ancestors knew what a myth was? A myth is a word we created thousands of years later as an explanation for shit that we couldn't explain with accepted theories and beliefs. Is it really that fantastical to believe that this so-called Tree of Life is actually just that, a power source, or a giver of life to the Ankh or the pine cone, which is basically something we could equate to a rechargeable battery? Which again, I get it, it sounds fantastical at first, but when modern science and archaeology fail to answer the questions, fantastical is really the next step. And when you actually start to read the words and view the art through a literal scope, this fantastical explanation becomes the most logical within the context of other ancient sites and artifacts that seem to depict this exact same object. Each and every time we see this object, this so-called handbag, it seems to always be in the context of a technology being used by a god, and in many cases this technology seems to have something to do with flight or levitation, whether that be a god with wings, or an object with wings, or an object being levitated above wings. The ability to fly seems to be the overall message, and this is where things get really intriguing. We have to understand that no matter how educated or advanced a civilization is, they can only describe what they see and experience within the context of their world. So that means men and women in modern technology look like bird gods, because that was the closest representation they knew that could describe what they were seeing. That's why the craft these gods descended on looked like flying serpents and turtles, and that's why to this day no records or blueprints are found as to how our ancient ancestors constructed these massive structures that, again, we cannot reconstruct ourselves. Is it because these ancient civilizations had a greater technology than we have today? What that technology was, how it was used, where it came from, and why it was lost to myths and legends is another video for another time. That being said, if that's a video you would like to see, let me know by hitting that like and subscribe button. And I've actually never done this before, but if I can get 100 likes on this video, I will definitely make that my next video. Also, let me know what you think this ancient symbol could be. Could it be lost technology that was used to create some of the most iconic and mysterious structures we know today? Or